You have a bar in your garage? I thought the only thing those babies guzzled was gas.
Oh, it's not for the auto, it's for me. Thirst can strike anywhere. That's why I have a bar in every room.
Iain, you wimpy scum sucker. Do you trust a man who drinks in his garage?
Yes. It seems like a wise place to drink. Especially a man who's got a carpeted garage.
It was very plush.
Yes, with no tyre marks.
Yeah. It wasn't so much a garage. I mean, he'd converted it really, hadn't he, into a rumpus room.
Whatever he wanted it to be, I guess, yes.
I could have spent a few hours in there.
Podcasting.
Yeah. That'd have been a fantastic place, just like Mark Maron's garage.
Yes. I'm trying to make my garage like that, but at the moment I've got to the stage of it being a garage.
Yeah.
That's a bit fun.
You've reversed the car out.
Yes, it's got no car in it, and it's a garage.
How are you?
I'm not too bad, Gerry. How are you today?
All the better for watching this episode. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a terrific pick-me-up.
We're in the home straight now, aren't we?
Two
Two
go.
more after this, yep. Possibly 3 more episodes of Sledgecast that we'll do an extra one.
I think we should do a wrap-up episode.
Look at the comics.
Yes, comics. Perhaps chat a little about Alan Spencer.
We could do that. Heard that Alan Spencer's a closet listener.
He listens to closets.
He listens to our show covertly.
In the closet. What are you trying to say?
I'm not saying he's in the closet. You said that.
Okay.
We wouldn't be having that kind of humour here.
No, we wouldn't.
Oh,
Sledge would have it.
Yes.
Yeah.
He'll be roaring with laughter in his closet.
I think we should just start this episode.
We could do a summary if you wanted.
Crack on.
In the secret of my excess, Governor Lashat recruits Sledge for a top secret mission to recover his little girl from a bad crowd she's fallen in with. Accepting the assignment, Sledge works diligently to find the girl, but Dory's suspicions are raised. The mission seems to have been successful once Doro finds out what's going on, and the pair return the girl to the Governor. But in an explosive finale, can Sledge and Dory put things right before Lashat really hits the fan?
That was not too bad, Ian. Yeah, quite impressed with that for a change.
Just for once.
Yeah. We begin in Sledge's apartment this week. He's watching TV and he's talking to his amigo.
Yes, he's fed up with his wimp on the television.
Who's that?
Gandhi. Any man who spells his name with an I in the end isn't welcome in his apartment. Well, that rules you out, doesn't it, Gerry?
It certainly does not. What do you think this is?
You're one. You spell it the same way as the Spice Girl, don't you?
With a wee love heart above the eye?
Yes.
Certainly not. A man knocks on the door and enters.
Yes, that's the usual, or makes the usual error of putting his hand on Sledge's shoulder and is thrown into a glass table.
Yep, the famous reflex.
Yes. I think it goes back at least as far as the Elvis episode in season 1.
No, it goes back to the pilot episode.
The pilot, there you go. It's been seen multiple times. It is a genuine reflex.
We discover the man is who?
Well, he's an envoy for the governor. I can't remember his name.
He's an aide.
Yeah.
We never find out his name.
Okay.
That's why he can't remember it.
That's probably why.
If you had remembered it, I'd have been very impressed.
It would have been magnificent. Let's call him Jeffrey.
Okay.
So Jeffrey says that Sledge is wrong to think that the governor is going to thank him for lobbying for his death penalty for jaywalkers bill. It's a top secret meeting. The governor is in trouble and he needs Hammer's help.
Sledge tells the aide, that Jeffrey, that he can count on him. He even voted down the ERA.
Well, the governor did, yes, that's why Hammer is going to do anything to support him. But then Jeffrey tells him to go and get in the trunk of his limo, and Hammer is clearly very dubious at this suggestion.
A strange man turns up at your door, claims to be the aide to the governor, and tells you to get into the trunk of his car. Would you do such a thing?
No.
Why not?
Because he's clearly crazy.
Would you be suspicious that he may be some sort of Jeffrey Dahmer type?
Yes, that's why he's called Jeffrey. But he reassures Sledge with the use of a catchphrase.
Which catchphrase?
He says, "Trust me, Hammer, I know what I'm doing." And,
Oh, in that case then.
well, everything's better when you've got a phrase. He goes looking for the fire escape at this point, and Hammer says, yes, he's got one, but the guy just goes out a random window.
Sledge mumbles to himself, yeah, it's not out that window.
Why would you assume you'd chosen the right window?
It's brilliant because the next time we see him, he's all. So we go into the governor's mansion, and they arrive in this garage that, to be mentioned earlier, very plush, luxurious. And the two of them get out of the car. So first of all, the aide gets out, Jeffrey, and he's all ruffled because of the fall. And Sledge gets out of the trunk.
They have a bit of a disagreement at this stage.
Yeah, Sledge asks why he went over the potholes 4 times.
Yes, and he says he had his reasons. And when Sledge asks what the reasons were, he says, your attitude.
Sledge goes to grab him, but is interrupted by the governor.
Yeah, a Nigel Farage type figure.
Very much so. Who offers Sledge a drink. We heard this at the top of the podcast.
Yes. I liked Sledge's line here when he says, pardon us, Governor. Actually, you really could pardon us. Just a little gubernatorial humour.
It was nice. Sledge then compliments the governor on his policy of cutting care for the elderly in order to build missile bases. And the governor returns the compliment before explaining to Sledge why he is there.
This is why I sent for you. My little girl.
Whoa, now wait a minute. I draw the line at shooting little girls, even if they deserve it.
No. I want you to bring her back to me. You see, my little angel, my darling, 2 weeks ago, she went out to buy a pumice stone and hasn't returned.
She could have just used sandpaper.
Well, I've heard that she's fallen in with the wrong crowd.
Well, don't worry. I know a lot of sleazeballs.
Well, this must be kept top secret, Hammer. If the rival camp finds out about it, it'll cost me the election.
No problem. Your secret is safe with me, sir.
I don't even remember it is. Well, yes, you must get her as soon as possible. But we can't risk the press discovering this.
I know. They expect your whole family to be saints, right?
That's exactly what Father O'Malley told me the other night over a couple of beers. Find my little girl.
His little girl references are quite creepy.
Well, when you find out who she is, they're all the more creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Sledge refuses a lift home at this stage. Did the introduction here remind you of the pilot episode a wee bit?
Yes. A similar feel to it, hasn't it? We have a missing daughter of a political figure.
Yeah, a young adult daughter as well.
Trunk's office. Trunk wants an update from Dory on a slasher case that they've been working on, and she has to inform him that Sledge has been off sick for the last 2 days.
And Trunk finds that quite unusual because Hammer usually shows up even if he is sick.
He then asks if there have been any nuclear meltdowns or riots, etc. And Dory asks why.
Yeah, and he explains it's because Hammer's out there unsupervised.
And we head over to Sledge's apartment. He's on the floor with a map of the States. And he's only just discovered that the US is quite a big country.
He takes a phone call from Trunk, and as in the Death of a Few Salesmen episode, he immediately forgets that he's not meant to be someone other than himself or other than his usual self.
And he quickly tries to put on the, I'm sick to the boss voice.
Yes. This is why I use email when I'm going to be calling in sick.
Yeah, I'm really not well. That looks like quite a well email.
I use the sick emoji. It makes it obvious.
He pretends to have the plague.
Yes, and Trunk's not having any of it. He insists that Hammer come into the precinct.
Immediately.
Yes.
Sledge then has a conversation with his gun.
The less said about that, the better.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think we need to. Other than the episode a few weeks ago when he was hallucinating, we've never seen the gun talk back. It's always been a one-way conversation. But in this case, the gun actually does respond. He's having a proper conversation with it. He's not talking to it, he's talking with it.
It's an imagined conversation, but yes. He asks the gun where it would go if it were the governor's daughter and it says the armoury.
He dismisses that and determines roughly where the governor's daughter may be.
Near his left foot.
In the precinct, Sledge, we see him checking milk cartons and wine bottles and a luggage magazine and packs of pens for
missing things. So the milk bottle's got missing children, the wine bottle's got missing winos, the luggage magazine has missing luggage. I can't remember what the pens had.
Missing nerds.
Hammer calls the governor from work, which almost blows his cover. And he has to try and, cover his tail with Mayjoy a little bit.
Dory then appears beside him, and Sledge pretends to be on the phone to his mother.
Yes, a bit like in the previous episode, when it wasn't pretending, but yeah, the guy actually phoned his mother.
Dory asks who the girl on his lap is.
He says there hasn't been one of those in years.
Yeah, bit of insight there. She's of course referring to the photograph of the governor's little darling.
And she is now suspicious of Hammer. Mm-hmm. If she wasn't already.
She grabs this photo and he claims that it is his niece, then nephew, when she points out he doesn't have a niece.
I think we get a little sort of time lapse here after that, and then Mayjoy is bringing Joey the Slug through.
Before that time lapse, Dory asks what he's hiding, and then he immediately denies being on a secret mission for the governor.
Yes, he does the old sort of put it in plain sight, how ridiculous would that be thing, yes.
Yeah, but I don't think I'm not sure he's trying to hide it in plain sight. I think he's just blurted out.
I'm sure I remember Father Ted doing something similar to this.
Yeah,
I can't remember the exact episode or anything, but yeah, I think there was a similar idea where someone was doing something and they just said what they were doing as a sort of cover up for it. Yeah, so a wee bit later on, Mayjoy is bringing Joey the Slug, a known informant, into interrogation, and Dory wants to know what's going on. Because she assumes that Hammer's working on this murder case.
Yes, Sledge denies, or tries to deny, any knowledge.
Yeah, first of all, he makes out it's a different Joey the Slug. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, you thought that, it's not Joey the Slug. And then he says he has to talk to him about man stuff, like hunting.
Yeah, she knows something's up.
Oh, absolutely.
So we head down to the interrogation room. Sledge enters, and Joey immediately panics.
No, no, I'm not giving up my rights this time. You're not getting away with brutality again.
Oh, come on. What's a couple of black eyes between friends?
Hey, man, you just stay away from me.
I'll give you exactly 1 minute to tell me everything you know about this girl.
I never saw her before.
Come on. Hey, don't you remember all that fun we had with crazy glue and your eyelashes in a 40-story building?
I swear to you, I never saw her before. I don't know anything about her.
You like jazz, Slug?
Sure. Why?
Any requests? Too bad I don't know how to play. Want to hear some more?
I'll tell you everything.
Never had one lesson.
Self-taught.
Did you get my reference?
It could be so many things.
Ferris Bueller.
Right, I was thinking wedding singer. It reminded me of that sax playing. Actually, I once went to a gig when I was living in Sweden. I went across the bridge to Copenhagen to Christiania, and there was a band playing, and it was a drummer, a bass guitar, and a guy in a saxophone, and they played for about an hour without taking a breath, and it was quite impressive, but it sounded exactly like that.
Rubbish.
Well, I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I don't think you could play like that if you weren't able to play the saxophone, because you wouldn't.
Well,
An instrument
yeah.
with a reed, it's hard to get any sound out of it if you don't know the technique.
It's not a drum.
No,
Or a piano.
indeed. Or even a guitar.
In any case, Joey talks after this oral abuse. Apparently, the girl in the picture is working for Big Mabel at the Bikini Wax Bar downtown.
Yes, and Sledge should say to Mabel that Butch sent him.
Butch. Dory then enters.
Yeah, on his way out, Sledge says God works in mysterious ways. And she says, you're comparing yourself to God? He says, no, just his methods.
The Bikini Wax Bar. Some lively women are watching a male stripper when Sledge arrives and approaches Big Mabel.
She wants to put him out.
Yes. No men are allowed. She says she will call the cops, and he tells Lardette that he is the cops.
Yeah, now, we should probably mention that he's got a lot of weight-based humour at Mabel's expense, which was uncomfortable and not funny.
Well, for the time, it was okay. She was an aggressive character. I think
was.
she
had other traits that he could have mocked.
like
Her stupid hair.
that's uncalled for. She doesn't recognise the girl in the photograph and punches Sledge.
Yeah, when he says that Butch sent him.
Yeah, she wants her alimony check.
She knows who sent him at this stage. It was Joey, and there's some connection there.
Sledge then mistakes a stripper cop for the real thing, and he gets on stage with him and starts showing the ladies in the audience the picture.
Meanwhile, the fellow behind him is stripping, and this upsets Hammer.
Yeah, Sledge has to fire his amigo to calm things down.
I'm sure that'll settle everybody's nerves.
Yeah.
He has to go what his mother would think, and his mother in the audience pipes up.
She appears from the front row.
He says he hasn't seen anything this perverted since the Western Holiday Special.
Nope, the Webster Holiday
Webster,
Special.
so what's that?
TV show.
Was it perverted?
Nah, I think it was just...
Was it left wing?
Nah, I think it's just insulting, I don't think.
It's just a silly thing to say.
Yeah.
Okay. Tries to arrest everybody, but Dory shows up and wants to know what he's working on before she will help him escape from Mabel's clutches.
Yeah, at this point, Mabel's got him in a chokehold.
Yes.
And she uses this strength of Mabel's to choke the story from Sledge.
Yes, he lets on that he's looking for the governor's daughter, and Mabel says that even though the governor's a fascist pig, and Sledge knows that he's a good fascist pig, she doesn't want any trouble, and points them to a massage parlour.
Yes, it's Dr. Masusi's massage parlour.
Yeah, he's thought of that name carefully. You see Sledge slyly elbow her in the face as he left.
Yeah, it's very un-Sledge-like.
Unprofessional.
No, he's always unprofessional, but he doesn't deliberately
Hit women.
Yeah. In the massage parlour, Sledge shows the very unenthusiastic receptionist the photographs, and she, like everyone else, claims not to recognise her, but says that she can get a similar girl to please both him and Dory.
He's outraged and identifies himself as a policeman, which leads to a series of confessions.
Whoa, yeah, confessions indeed. She changes from being quite placid to suddenly pleading guilty to a range of crimes: the disappearance of Jimmy Hoffa, Pearl Harbor.
She says that Hoffa's in her gym bag. She also did the Great Train Robbery and stole office supplies.
It's an odd but interesting performance. She shakes profusely throughout this.
She's very nervous. Sledge edges out of her way to check what's going on in the rooms. Did you note what was in each room?
The first one was an elephant noise.
Yep. Then it was a rock band.
Then it was trains.
Yep. And then some kind of shootout.
Yeah, gunfire. Before he bumps into Joey the Slug.
Yes.
Now Sledge pulls his gun on him because he believes he's been led down a blind alley by Joey. And at this point, Dory interrupts with news that the girl was spotted across the street in a Fleabag motel.
Yes, Hammer calls this into the governor, I think, or he tries to.
Well, he has a bit of trouble with a bead curtain, firstly.
Yes.
And we hear in the background more crazy confessions from the receptionist.
She hasn't stopped, so how Dory get anything out of her, I don't know.
But they head over to the Fleabag motel across
That's what
the
it's
street.
called.
Yeah, it actually says in neon lights, Fleabag motel.
It's managed by a fellow called Al Fresco.
That reminded me of Art Deco.
Yes, very much. Same idea. He says he does recognise the girl that she left with a lot of luggage.
Did you note that before they'd identified themselves and the reason for being there, he assumed they were obviously just a couple and gave them an egg timer?
Yes, for the room.
Sledge grabs him, demands these answers from Al.
He wants to see the room that she stayed in, and it's basically a cupboard
Yes.
with a picture on the wall. He says at least it's clean. But they find something, I couldn't make out what it was, a white strip of something.
Yeah, I don't know, but they go back to the Bikini Wax Bar.
They do.
And a girl is dancing on the stage when they return. It's odd, this, isn't it? It's a girl dancing for other women.
I think she is not meant to be dancing.
Oh, she just perhaps had a
got
few
wrecked
drinks and...
jumped up on the stage.
Yeah.
That's what Mabel says to them. She wants this girl removed.
True. At this point, Dory suggests to Sledge that he might have to accept defeat with grace. What does Sledge say to that?
He's not going to be doing that. He's a cop.
Not a decorator.
That's it.
And he won't let the governor down.
It turns out that this girl dancing on the stage is the governor's little girl. But before we find that out, Sledge is going to phone the governor.
Yes, he's on the phone to the governor. Dory thinks she recognises the girl who's dancing.
Yep.
And goes over to have a closer look. Now she's dancing to the famous 80s song from... Is it from Flashdance?
Is it the What a Feeling one?
Yeah, the one which ends in the dancer pulling a chain and being drowned in water.
Yes, but unfortunately the water's above Sledge.
And he gets soaked.
Absolutely drenched.
And she runs over to apologise.
Yes, at which point he recognises her without Dory's assistance. And she is then gagged by Sledge because she starts screaming.
But she says, I'm not his daughter, just before.
He's not my father.
He's not my father, yes. Look. But they have to gag her. And
Yeah, they're
take
not
her.
interested in what she has to say.
No, it's an odd one, that, isn't it? That is very unprofessional, especially...
Especially Dory.
Yeah. Another female gagging her and just taking her to some man. It's not acceptable. No idea why she's running away.
No, it's a bit of a weird one.
Not how you should be acting. But anyway, that's what happens. They take her over to the mansion, and the governor's having, I think it's an election victory party.
He's doing a fundraiser. No, it's a re-elect. He's trying to raise money for his campaign.
Okay, I wasn't sure if the campaign had concluded and this was now a victory party.
I don't think so. I think this is a fundraiser, and he's bastardising JFK. What can you do for your governor, essentially?
Yeah. And
then
me.
he finishes, me!
At this point, we see the aide.
Jeffrey comes in, yes.
He quickly approaches the governor, telling him that he couldn't stop them from entering.
That's right. And Hammer and Dory bring the girl in and say that they've returned the daughter, at which point the wife says, we don't have a daughter. And Sledge is outraged as he puts one and one together and finally comes up with two and realises this is a mistress. And he is angry at the governor.
Quite rightly, he's been made to look a fool.
There's a bit of a rammy.
Yes, it's a good old-fashioned fight scene where everyone's involved, and
it's not clear who's attacking who for what purpose.
It seems all the guests are fighting with each other.
Yeah, and Sledge starts fighting with random people, and the wife starts beating up the governor at one point, obviously. Meanwhile, Dory and this girl just keep ducking, dodging out of the way. At one point, Dory kicks someone in the head, but I don't know why.
Who knows? So it comes to an end.
Yes.
Dory, I think she fires a shot.
She does, Sledge style, again.
And we're Sledge, he's disillusioned by the governor having the morals of a TV evangelist.
And then there's a brilliant line, because obviously it was soaked literally minutes ago, and Dory says to him, how did your hair get so dry?
What does he say?
Well, they should have left it, they shouldn't have put that line in. When he's off screen, he then says, trust me, I know what I'm doing. But I think that would have been better left on the how did your hair get so dry? But that's why I'm maybe not a TV writer.
Back to Trunk's office this week for the epilogue. Sledge, Dory and Trunk himself discuss the case before the girl enters.
Well, Hammer, you did it again.
No, I'm not happy the way this is turning out. Our country needs a man like that.
You a sludge, Sledge.
I like that in a politician. It's his replacement that I'm worried about. That pinko, he'll probably encourage women to vote.
Come in.
Oh.
Inspector Hammer, I just want to thank you for exposing Lashot for what he really was.
Hey, Lashot was a great backward-thinking man. He just had 7 or 8 fatal moral flaws.
What are your plans now, Angel? Well, with all the press coverage, I got a 3-picture deal with Perrymount.
Oh, well, I guess they figured that someone in your line of work couldn't afford those high ticket prices, huh? So, I mean, they got her for cheaper with a 3-picture for the...
Why did you do that?
I don't know, I felt like shooting my gun, so I...
The newspaper headline, cops let Lashot out of the bag, governor resigns. I quite like that. Hammer, obviously, I don't know if that was improvised or if that was scripted, but his joke is terrible. They don't get the joke. I think he's referring to her having bought cinema tickets rather than a deal to be in movies.
Yeah.
And then to cover up his really bad joke, he just shoots his gun in the air and the people upstairs will be terrified.
I quite enjoyed it.
Oh, a nice little finish.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fun episode. At the end there, they've got this... We've got to call her a victim, but I'm not sure how much of a victim she is in this episode. She had left, right? So there was no harm done to her. He just wanted to find out where she was and to be brought back, which is... It was the police that were bringing... He didn't employ some sort of gangster-style guy to bring her back. Now, when he does get her back, then that's obviously a different matter. But she's coming here at the end, but she's also having an affair with a married man. She's not some innocent party here.
No.
It's like not the most sympathetic of people.
Yeah, we don't actually get a lot of information about why she left, what was making her so upset.
Yeah.
Presumably he just didn't treat her well.
I'm sure he didn't. He was a scumbag.
Yeah. He got what he deserved.
Enjoy it.
I thought it was a good episode, yeah.
Yeah.
Just a couple more to go.
I'll miss it. I'll miss my weekly dose of David Rashy and the guys.
Yeah, you ought to start phoning him.
What try it, yeah. Love to chat to him.
Yeah. I'm sure he'd have some good stories.
Wish he was on Twitter. That would be good.
Yeah, you'd get harassed by idiots.
Why are you looking at me? Okay, some trivia and some production information. How about it?
Okay.
January the 29th, 1988 was the original air date. Directed by Dick Martin. This is his third of 3. Alicia Marie Schud was the writer. not done a massive amount. A lot of cartoons and animation. The Sylvester and Tweety Mysteries, Alvin and the Chipmunks, and Alf. James Cairn played Governor Fritz Leshat, born in 1923. He has been in Wall Street, Return of the Living Dead, American Dad, First Monday, The Larry Sanders Show, Charles in Charge, Magnum, Moonlighting, Cheers and Quincy. And he was a very good friend of Robert Ludlum, the late Robert Ludlum,
Right.
who wrote the Bourne books. Mark Holton, a face familiar to me from my childhood. Yourself? No? Didn't think so. Born in 1958, he played Francis in Pee-wee's Big Adventure and Chubby in Teen Wolf.
Ah, okay.
He also played John Wayne Gacy in Gacy. He was in Leprechaun and Star Trek Deep Space Nine, amongst lots of other things.
Who was he in this?
He was the aide.
Jeffrey.
Jeffrey, yes. Marianne Muller-Lil played a big...
What's her surname, sorry?
Muller-Lil
Okay.
played the Big Mabel, born in 1948. She's been in Thank You for Smoking, Liar Liar, The Terminator, Passions, Third Rock from the Sun, Phenom, and Santa Barbara. We've seen her before.
Have we?
Yes.
When did we see her before?
Not in Sledgehammer, but in Columbo. She played Nurse Hilda in Columbo's Undercover, which also starred Harrison Page.
Yes.
So, if you remember, Columbo got attacked and ended up in the hospital.
Yes, and Harrison Page brought him some trousers.
Yeah, so the nurse that was her in that scene.
Ah, there you go.
Ernie Sabella played Alfresco, born in 1949. He has voiced major characters in The Lion Guard and The Lion King
Okay.
for a number of years, all the spin-off shows.
Yeah, The Lion Guard's the current kids' cartoon.
Yeah, my little boy watches that all the time. He's also been in House of Mouse, Saved by the Bell, Ticket to Ride, Fright Night 2, Hill Street Blues, Perfect Strangers, Cheers, and It's Your Move. Did you recognise Joey the Slug?
Of course I did.
Did you really?
Oh, yes.
Are you sure?
I am.
You're not good with faces.
No, I know I'm not. But voices, he sounded a bit Russian.
Mark Blankfield.
Yes, he was Slag and he was the Russian scientist.
Yeah. It's almost like I might have mentioned that to you already.
If only there was some way to find these things out.
Yeah. Remember, I've got the edit.
We can lots of words. It's like, I didn't know who that was.
Yeah. I'm going to be disappointed, but do you know where the title comes from this week?
Hang on. Secret of My Success, I presume.
Yeah, but do you know what that is?
Is it a movie?
Yeah, what one?
The Secret of My Success?
Yeah, but tell me about it.
It's a movie from the
80s.
80s. And
1987's Michael J. Fox, Secret of My
Right.
Success. I enjoyed it.
Okay.
Used to watch it as a kid when I was a bit more of a yuppie wannabe,
Right.
you know, thinking that's what it was all about. Watching it as a 10-year-old, thinking, yeah, I'm going to be a high-flying executive. It's all about buying and selling and stocks and shares and Wall Street and all that sort of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, very much off the 80s. Very materialistic.
Sort of Gordon Gekko
Yeah.
type.
You already identified the plain words of the governor's name. So, Governor Fritz Leshat is a parody of Fritz the Cat,
Okay.
which was a successful underground comic. And in 1972, an animation of that comic was produced and it became the first X-rated cartoon in Hollywood history.
Alright, that's interesting.
Favourite line?
It was definitely Why Is Your Hair So Dry?
Okay. Mine would be when Mabel calls the governor a fascist pig and Sledge agrees and says, yes, a very good one. Next week, it happened what night?
Interesting. We're getting to the very, very
Penultimate.
last stages. It's the penultimate episode.
It is.
Not of our show,
No.
but of
Penultimate of our show.
semi-penultimate. I don't know what the word would be.
I thought we
Anyway.
discussed this before.
Yeah, I think we have.
We'll leave it.
It's not interesting enough to do it again.
No.
We should remind folk that if they rate, review and subscribe to the show on iTunes, it helps other people find it, and that would be very much appreciated. If you want to talk to us about Sledgehammer, there's a post up for each episode on sledgehammerpodcast.com, and we keep an eye on that. And if you want to talk to us about anything else, you can get us on Twitter. We're at Sledgecast, and it's the same username at Sledgecast on Facebook.
It is.
So until next week,
Put your pants on.
cheerio.